Welcome, everybody. This is Pratishar, and we have our third module of the Indian outbound tourism. And we're here to talk more and more in detail on what the topic is. So let me start off by sharing the screen. So that's the subject, and I hope you've had the time to go through the couple of other sessions that we've gone through, and also other modules. There's two other modules. One is on nation and destination brand, and the other topic is on consumer behavior. There's a lot that you can understand in terms of consumer mindsets, more in terms of how nations present themselves and position themselves to destination brands, and what they need to probably do, a few of the things that they need to do during this time. So today's session primarily covers travel destinations for Indians, and the type of favors altogether. So let me start off by talking about, primarily there are three large groups. I did bring this up earlier, of Indian travelers. If you were to put it together, one is definitely the business travelers, which is a prime important one in terms of some of the business destinations that they actually travel to around the world, followed by the family visiting to a couple of the very core markets. This could be Singapore, Dubai, US, UK, and a few other countries, Australia, New Zealand. These are some of the countries where a lot of Indian diaspora are there, and there could be a lot of family visiting, family and friends visits that could happen within these markets, which are very important. Rest of the large market is primarily the leisure travelers, and these are now getting into a segment where there is almost about an average age of 20, between 25 and 35, below 35, that is actually becoming one of the largest segments within this case. So I think it's important that these are some of the travelers who are looking for experiences, and different and unique experiences that your country may have, and these are some of the opportunities that are there for us to actually tap into those, the experience side of things. And this could be a multitude of opportunities in terms of a multitude of opportunities in experiences that you could develop. It could be music festivals, it could be food, it could be cultural festivals that have become very, very popular. For example, Tomatina in Spain, and I did share the video last time on one of the movies that actually covered it. And some of the others that are quite popular would be Switzerland. I think that's done an incredible job. And of course, some of the newer ones that are emerging are diving, what do you call, deep sea diving, skydiving, and then of course cruises that are also taking off. But that's more in terms of the family side of things. So chunk of the travel that actually happens for India is in the summer holidays, which is for us in the month of, for Indians, it's primarily from the month of April, May, and June. That's when the schools close, and there's a big chunk of travel that happens. And the second largest chunk is actually October, November, December. There is a festival called Diwali, and that's when most of the schools and institutions are closed. So that's when a lot of holidaying happens. So 75% of all Indian travel that actually happens between these 2 months, and that's an important thing for you to take into consideration while planning something for the Indian market. So some of the important destinations, which could be, uh, apart from countries that I mentioned, it should be countries and cities. So Singapore, Dubai, Thailand, Bangkok has been a great destination. Phuket and some of the other Krabi Islands, for example, has become Koh Samui is another destination that's caught up. Uh, UK, definitely London, Manchester, Birmingham. These are some of the important destinations for Indians altogether. In the US, definitely New York, followed by San Francisco and some of the other key cities. But there are almost about 2 million Indian diasporas that live currently in the US, so and who are primarily immigrants into the United States, and that calls for a lot of family visits. Education, is a very large segment, of course, and Indian IT is a large contributor to the U.S. economy. Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur has played an important role because again, there's definitely a lot of um, Indians there, and Bali, of course, definitely because there's a lot of cultural influences between Indonesia and India, which goes back many centuries. Switzerland is definitely among the top of the line, excuse me, especially ever since Switzerland started appearing in some of the Indian Hindi movies and some of the other Indian regional movies where song and dance sequences are shot there, and that's how it became popular. And Indians are one among the large visitors to Switzerland. Uh, France and Paris definitely is an important destination. Rest of the others, Sri Lanka has been able to attract, but of course, has been able to attract a lot of Indians because one, there is definitely a large Indian population there, and it's extremely accessible and very cost effective, and fantastic destinations. I personally have a lot of liking towards Sri Lanka. It's one of the most short haul destinations, and that could make a lot of sense to be there. Bentota, Kandy, Colombo, some of the cities that are the Gaul, for example, is a very beautiful place. And followed by Nepal and Bhutan. These are also where share borders with India, so that's how there's a lot of travel that actually happens within that. So India has about now 80 million passport holders, so that's a tremendous lot in terms of passport holders, and we are now with uh, we can travel visa free or visa on arrival uh, to 60 odd countries in the world. So it's not a very powerful passport like some of the European nations have, but definitely among the good ones. And visa free or easy visa process is something very important. And I could bring up a topic over here. There is this wonderful company called VFS, which has done an excellent job of tying up with various countries, European countries, the South American countries, UK, and some of the other Australia and New Zealand, in terms of having the entire visa process, managed in a very efficient manner. And I think I think that's probably some of the way forward to go in terms of how you can actually make tie-ups in India. And if any of you all are interested in that, we could probably get in touch, and we can talk about it. So these are some of the countries that are actually offering visa on arrival, and of course some of the big names would be Hong Kong. We have Indonesia, we have Kenya, Madagascar, Sri Lanka. Some of the ones, Maldives, for example, you don't need a thing. Cambodia, Jamaica. These are some of the islands. Interestingly, there's a lot of Indian diaspora still there, which were actually taken by, in fact, the Fiji Islands. I wonder if it actually, therefore, yes, it's over here. Fiji Islands is a very exotic island which has got a lot of Indians. That is because during the colonial times, there were a lot of Indians who were taken for the plantation management work across a couple of colonial countries that was owned or colonial countries of the British Empire, which also included a whole bunch of African countries at that point of time, and also, countries, close to the, Fiji and some of the other countries are some of the good examples of that. Guyana, is a very good example. A lot of Indians there, and Trinidad and Tobago is another good example of that, and so on. So that makes it very interesting for Indian market to actually now travel and start exploring that. So this is a very interesting report, which was done primarily talking about the habits that Indians have generally, and this is typically talking about the Northeast. And India is a very vast country in terms of size, and the vastness altogether. There are altogether 29 states in India. There are about 300 languages and about 3,000 dialects. So that's a tremendous amount of people. And this is the Northeast people. And very interestingly, they have a lot of Mongoloid kind of features. So you might actually mistake them for, being from the Far East, and but they are actually Indians. So this particular thing is called the Seven Sisters. There are seven states of India that are in that region, and they. So why are we trying to break this up? It's very important that you can actually have now with social media targeted campaigns to put to particular segments of people. So you can choose the age, you can choose the ethnicity, you can choose the state, you can choose the region where they actually belong to, or the city that they belong to. So 73% of the people who come from there are actually adults, followed by children and teens. They like England as their one of their most favorite destinations, and of course, Buckingham Palace, London are probably one some of the favorites. And then, of course, shopping is the special fees market, and beaches. Wharton on the Naze beach is what with some of their preferences. Just look at the amount of detailing; they actually already know about some of this, followed by Western India. Western India definitely likes. So these are states like Gujarat and Mumbai, especially Bombay, and for them France is top of the list or top of the thought. Uh, Eiffel Tower, blue beaches of Nice, sorry, and the Bon Marche epicure of the shopping destination that they would actually like. Followed by East India. Very interestingly, Germany it seems to be a very interesting thing for that particular type of people from there, and they like Berlin Wall, followed by shopping destinations and Paragon Museum in Berlin. So Berlin seems to be a very important destination for them. In the north of India, very interestingly, Spain seems to be a preference, with Sagrada Familia seems to be the most historical destination that they want to visit, and Barceloneta Beach in Barcelona, follows by Baqueca. I've not been to that, but the other two definitely yes. South of India would like to actually visit Italy, and the average time is about 9-10 days. So please remember these are all roughly 10-11 days is what the average looks like. And we have Italy in Rome, Vatican. Very interestingly, for some reason, there's a lot of travel there. That's because I should mention this to you. From the south of India, there's a lot of influence from the Christian missionaries in the south of India, and there are a lot of schools and large Christian associations that are actually linked with Italy, and of course, being and Vatican. So there are a lot of schools that actually, exchange their nuns and mother superiors who actually travel between India and Italy, and that's probably one good reason for them. But of course, Italy seems to be a great destination altogether. So this was a research done by Inspire Rock. So some of the important destinations, and I think I want to talk a little detailed about, Singapore. Singapore, that's the Singapore Marina, and they have a beautiful hotel that's shaped like a boat, and it's a very very popular destination. It's an island state, 320 square kilometers. It's a short haul flight, it's about 3 hours, 3 4 hours, 3 4 hours on an average from India. But has got a tremendous amount in Indian diaspora, and they've done exceedingly well, to excuse me, to position themselves as a city state. In fact, they were one of the earliest in the modern times to actually develop themselves as a city state and have done exceedingly well in terms of positioning their country. So let me just quickly show you an ad that's done by the Singapore government, and this was, a couple of years back, but probably very, very important. So here goes. There is no. There's no place like this. This is the place
place I call home.
This is where 1212 and 112 are not just dancing steps. Back streets live on as galleries and museums. This is where we live amongst trees, carve them out of metal, and make them electric. Where impossibilities lead us to endless possibilities. This is where old school, the new school, and what no school can teach come together. Here, every day is a new canvas. The old school cool. This is where rhymes, chimes, and the daily grind meet. This is where who you were will not be who you will become. This is where all that you're passionate about, all that drives you, is made possible. This is where passion is made possible.
This is your stage.
Right. So that was the ad by the Singapore government, Visit Singapore. In fact, Singapore tourism has done an exceedingly well job in terms of promoting themselves and positioning themselves as a city state. But of course, these are times, of course, a couple of years back, and things are vastly different right now. So to over the last couple of months, we haven't really heard much, but we just know that it's the repatriation trips that are currently happening between Singapore and India, and that's the current news. Things will evolve over a period of time. One of the other important markets for Indians to visit, these are I'm talking in terms of numbers of people who actually travel, and UAE is definitely a one very large market, especially the three cities of UAE, which have which are small. They call themselves as Emirates. The Emirate of Dubai, the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, and the Emirate of Sharjah. These are the three regions which have done exceedingly well, and of course, Dubai tops that list. With, of course, having a tremendous amount of Indian, immigrants there in terms of work. I think they are one of the largest immigrant populations that are there compared to even the local population. And UAE is a fantastic destination. UAE is one of our classical examples of the most modern city states and what they have done in terms of positioning themselves and creating a one-stop global phenomena, literally in terms of a city state. And it has become an increasingly fantastic place to not only attract tourists. There is a lot of immigration that has been planned. There's a lot of Indian business houses that have been set over there in what they call free zones, and a lot of trade actually happens within these countries. So Indians consider Dubai as like a stepping stone to what, in terms of business and other opportunities in the world. One of the next big markets, primarily for Indians, is actually United Kingdom, and out of which, of course, London, Birmingham, Manchester, some of the key cities that people, Indians, a lot of Indians in these cities. Liverpool being the other, and but of course, it is of course it was because of the colonial past that some of them have gone and settled over there and started working there, but also UK has been exceedingly important market from an education point of view. So a lot of Indians, because of the ability to speak English, they find it comfortable being, if you don't make it to the US in terms of education, UK is definitely among the top of the list in terms of education. And of course, there are some exceedingly important schools that have been able to attract a lot of Indians to study, especially Oxford. who's done exceedingly well, and some of the others who have also done phenomenally well. So UK is a very, very important market. Definitely, with now more than 2 million Indians, in the US as immigrants, there is a tremendous lot that is actually happening between India and the US, and definitely New York is among the top cities to visit. But the kind of travel that actually happens now is more of family, friends, that kind of a thing that is taking place because uh, US is a long destination, and usually there's a 15 between 15 and 20 days is an average time they would actually spend in the US, and there's a tremendous lot of money that is actually spent, and that's a great thing for the US to attract Indians, and they started focusing primarily on the Indian markets over the last few years and have done exceedingly well. One of the other big markets from India would definitely be the education market, and I think Indians look up. So there are two big education markets for Indians. Definitely US followed by UK, and US with its vastness in terms of number of schools and colleges has done exceedingly well. And in fact, I think in the student population, Indians definitely stand as top of the league in terms of the different genres of study and education that they actually undertake. Then there's another leisure destination. Of course, this is because of its beautiful access and value for money. I think Thailand has been able to position themselves as as a fantastic value for money, and in fact, in some of the markets are actually far more cost effective than traveling within India. So some of my friends say that, listen, why don't we go to Phuket instead of going to Goa, because it's far cheaper, and you know you can do more. So Phuket actually now attracts about 8 million travelers a year. This is of course 2000 18 19 figures. 2020 will be vastly different, but it's seen as a great honeymoon destination for Indian married couples. And a very, very important market because it's very accessible. Food is more or less, and they clearly understand Indians, and it's, uh, you know, uh, visa on arrival and things like that. So that's how Thailand becomes a very, very critical market for India. Now this is what I wanted to talk about, which have, caused a lot of change. So things have been difficult in 2020. Of course, it's not just India or Indians, it's just around the world, and travel has taken a significant hit, literally from all points of view. The air travel to any travel to hotels to resorts to everything. I think leave alone the fact that we cannot travel, but we are almost all stuck at home, just like where I am right now. I mean, there's hardly anything that we can do, but we are doing our best to keep ourselves positive and be resilient and hope for the best. So this was a recent research done on the top 5 factors that actually will determine this travel scenario. And I wanted to actually discuss this primarily to say that how is it that we all can contribute towards that, towards getting ready and being prepared. So, safety and security. I think security was always taken care of, especially after 9/11. Things changed in terms of security, but now it's about safety. Both, perception and reality will map a saying that what are the levels of safety that you're taking care of. So that's very, very important. So some of the important practices and protocols will actually be very, very critical. Second thing is health, saying that, look, so airlines will have to go through a completely different set of protocols apart from security. Now they'll have to have health protocols. How are you managing? How are you going to managing people who are actually going to cough on the plane? And it just is going to be uh, very, very challenging and very, very important to actually manage all of these perceptions, because one end, security at one point of time was so critical and we were so paranoid, and the number of checks that we had to go through in the airport, removing the belt, removing the shoes, all of that at one point of time it was seen as such a massive irritant factor, but now we are absolutely used to it. Same thing is going to happen even in terms of health. We'll have to start looking at what are the important protocols that we can put into place to that, so that the entire or the overall safety and health is taken care of. Hygiene, very, very critical. I think, in fact, some of the flights that actually come to India actually do something like a spray. Now, I don't know what are the other protocols that might need to come in place for all of us to feel a bit secure. So, safety, health, hygiene, and brands that actually demonstrate will actually stand, to demonstrate the above in, incredible manner, will actually stand for a certain quality. And those are the ones which are actually going to win. And of course, finally comes a good value for money, saying that, we are in some troubled times. We are definitely looking at some financial setbacks for most of us. And if that is the case, that we are going to be very, very anxious about the money that we are going to be spending. And, we definitely want good value, good for the money that, we are actually putting out. So these are some of the 5 factors. And I think this came up in a recent research for Indians. And I probably would think that it's actually quite, you know, probably very, very similar to what you would actually find anywhere else in the world. So safety, health, hygiene, brands that stand for consistent quality, for the all of the above, and of course demonstrate value. I actually wanted to end by showing something that is, done by the Dubai government, and I thought it was pretty impressive. Is this one? Just have a look.
We made you a promise that we would see you soon. That time has come. We're ready to welcome you with open doors, to share your journey of discovery, making your well-being our priority. And today, we make you a new promise that our home, Dubai, is ready for you to visit once again. We promised to make it extraordinary. Now, we promise it will be so much more. We're ready when you are.
Right. So that just clearly shows that some of the important steps, various, countries, and it's in this case, a city-state of Dubai that is actually doing, and they've done an exceedingly wonderful job. Also, Abu Dhabi has done something similar, and a couple of others. Of course, maybe I can share some links of that, maybe down in the section below. So that ends today's session, and please feel free to write to me, look me up on LinkedIn, and exchange ideas. I would love to hear more about your thoughts and some of the challenges that you are facing, and see if there is any way we can actually come to a solution, which is important for each one of us. And the next session is going to be very, very, very interesting. And I think I've had a lot of people ask me about this, saying that, what is this big jamboree about the Indian wedding? And we call it the Great Indian Wedding, because wedding is a very, very important thing in the Indian thing. It's almost like a big fat Greek wedding. There's a big fat Indian wedding that is actually that I'm going to be talking about. That's in the next session. Look forward to seeing you all there. And definitely also look at some of the other sessions that we have done on the winning platform, which are very, very exciting. And I've done 2 others. One is nation branding and consumer behavior. And some of the others will also be there, shortly up. So thank you all for attending this, and look forward to you all seeing in the next session. Thank you. Bye-bye.